Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about rack pulls and sumo deadlifts for people who aren't able to conventional deadlift for some reason. Oftentimes mobility, sometimes a back issue, other things. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on scaling up my craft, and a little bit let's talk about this. And it's no secret that I am not a fan of partials on the deadlift. And it's no secret that I'm not a big fan of sumo deadlifts, and I think conventional is better for general size and strength. But are there times when some of these other things need to be looked at? Yes. Yeah, there are situations in which they need to be looked at. We don't need to be so dogmatic that we say, well, if you can't do a normal conventional deadlift, then you just don't need to go to the gym. Because I mean, your other option is to not do a deadlift. For some people, your option is to not do a deadlift at all. And I don't think that should be an option. Now, this topic came up for a number of reasons. I had someone ask us about rack pulls for this exact purpose in the comments. And then I also ran into a young man at the gym who incidentally, I was giving some advice to and they recognized me. They actually said, I watch your videos, I'm a fan, but now that I've met you in person, you're even fatter and balder than I expected. And the level of autism that is happening in this conversation shouldn't even be biologically possible. But, I gave him advice anyways, right? That's not really the way it went down, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who that's how they expected it to go down, and that's okay, guys. But he was saying, I can't conventional, so I'm doing sumo. And I kind of said, well, it's better than not deadlifting, right? So when we look at the sumo deadlift there, isn't it better to sumo than not deadlift? If you can't conventional deadlift due to some leverage issue, some sort of pain, some problem that you have not resolved yet, but you can sumo deadlift while you work on that, then yeah, sumo deadlift, because you need to be deadlifting. You need to be doing some type of pull from the floor. And if sumo is the only thing that you can do, then do sumo. I would rather most of you do conventional, but it's a viable alternative if you can't do conventional. And it has to do with situations of some people's arms maybe combined, maybe people with shorter arms, maybe people with a certain lower back and flexibility issue. There are situations where some people are in this situation, and it could be have to do with maybe a fused back, some sort of back surgery, some sort of back injury. Yeah, there are people who can't get into the conventional deadlift position. Other people, due to previous injuries or they've got to rehab things, can't currently get into a deadlift position without looking like their dog trying to take a shit. You guys know how the dog looks. If your deadlift looks like that, okay, we need to fix something. And if you have to do sumo in the meantime, then I would much rather you do that than not deadlift at all. Because the sumo deadlift still has 90% of the benefits of a conventional deadlift. But you do need to understand it does shift the primary movers around a little bit, and it has a little less potential for overall muscle growth, right? Because it pulls some of the upper back and posterior chain out of the records out a little bit and replaces it with hips and quads. And if you're squatting already and squatting with enough volume and frequency, your hips and quads don't need another hip and quad dominant exercise, particularly one that's a partial for the quads. You don't need that. But, it still has a lot of the benefits of the deadlift. So then we come over to the question of the rack pull. Well, what if your range of motion is limited and you need to build that? Is a rack pull acceptable? No. Rack pulls are never acceptable. Yeah, I said it. You know why? Because there are other options besides a rack pull that don't destroy other people's equipment. Now, if you're rich enough to replace your own bars and your own power racks, and you can buy as many of them as you want in your own home, do with your own property what you want. But if you ever do a rack pull on a bar or in a power rack that someone else owns, you are a disrespectful piece of crap. You're a disrespectful piece of crap who destroys the property of others with no regard, and I don't like you. That even includes now Omar Issoff. I liked Omar Issoff until he supported rack pulls, and now I think he's trash because of that. Because he promoted destroying gym equipment that other people owned. And that's just extremely disrespectful. I don't like him as a person after that. And I sure don't like Strap-On Destiny. So, that being said, what's your alternative? Pull off of blocks? If you cannot pull from the floor due to a flexibility issue and you want to learn the conventional deadlift and you are forced to do a partial, you can use blocks of some type. There are blocks made specifically for this. Take them to the gym with you. Buy yourself a pair of blocks of whatever height you need, 6 inches, 8 inches, whatever you need. Buy them yourself and take them to the gym and deadlift off of them. Some gyms have them already. Some gyms have them already. Some of them have metal stools that are short enough you could use of different heights. Now people say, well, couldn't it roll off there? Well, it might, but if you use good technique, it won't roll off there. You're not flinging the bar around and bouncing it. You should be able to set it right back down on those with no problem and have it stay up there. Right? You use blocks. You can use rubber mats. Hell, one of the gyms I train at, they have piles of little rubber mats that you can stack up that are like an inch thick. And they've got about 30 of them. You could stack those up. You could stack those up and incrementally lower your height. In fact, that would be the way to go. In fact, buy your own mats and take them to the gym. Little 1-inch square mats. Buy yourself a couple dozen of them. Take them to the gym with you and pull off of those and work on your mobility to get lower. So if you have to start 8 inches high because of whatever and build your deadlift up, then fine. Stack 8 1-inch thick rubber mats up under the plates. Deadlift, and when you get that mobility down, pull a mat out, go down to 7 inches, pull another one out, go to 6 inches until you build the mobility to pull from the floor. So you can use rubber mats, you can use blocks. There are other options out there that do not require you to destroy the equipment at your gym. Rack pulls are never an option. Never an option. They're destructive. There are blocks specifically made for that purpose. And now I think other than fixing mobility, I think block pulls are really there as grip work. I think that's their most valuable tool, as a grip increasing tool for people who do grip work. And if that's what you're doing them for, that's fine. Because you're doing a partial, you're doing a heavier weight than your 1 rep max on a deadlift. Because if you're pulling off of blocks, you can usually do 5 or 6 reps with hundreds of pounds more than your competition max on a deadlift. So that does give you the potential for some good grip work in there. But barring that, there's no reason to be doing these partials other than people who have a mobility issue that they are trying to correct, in which case something that's more adjustable is going to be the way to go. Rubber mats are going to be a much better tool. Plus, some power racks don't even let you go low enough to do that. They don't have enough adjustment down to the floor. You're not going to fix your problem that way anyways. Your goal should be to fix this problem. And you can do that by progressively increasing the range of motion. But what you need to remember is that as the range of motion goes down, even though you're getting stronger, the weight on the bar might have to go down as you go lower and lower with this stuff, because it's much easier to pull up higher. It's a shorter range of motion. But yeah, you could use that as a tool to increase your mobility. So those are your options. So sumo deadlifts have their place. Block pulls, pulling off mats, have their place for people who have these mobility or back issues. Rack pulls, though, are never an option unless you personally own the rack and you don't mind destroying your rack and your bar. Specifically, the bars get destroyed. That's your prerogative. But you shouldn't be doing that stuff with other people's equipment. It's just disrespectful, it's bad gym etiquette, it's rude, and it makes you a dick. So there you have it, guys. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.